Okay, so welcome to the not so daily dose this week. Daily dose brought to you by Network in Action today and Thursday of this week. Hopefully, everybody's staying quarantined, healthy, and happy, and keeping their family safe. That's the first order of the day. So, I want to just open up. I know there's been a lot of discussion the last week or 10 days about these government programs, but I want to make sure that those of you that need any more help or any questions have an opportunity to ask that real quick before we start with Kathy. Does anybody have any questions? Just post.
Sorry about that, guys. It looks like the fearless leader is the one that's going to have the problems today. So I just wanted to mention that if you live in Harris County, sorry about that distraction. If you live in Harris County, the Harris County judges are voting today on a program. So if you're interested in applying for another quick grant, it looks like that's going to be passed today. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll pass some information around to those groups in Houston. I want to welcome everybody. Thank everybody for joining us, and make sure no one had any questions. I was falling off right there. Does anybody have any questions about financing, fast packages coming, and help from the government, any of those topics that we covered thoroughly last week?
Hey, Scott, I have one.
Hi, Mr. Marker.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I applied for that $10,000 grant, but there's some other ones out there too. And I just, I don't have any employees. You're pretty standard Network in Action franchise owner. Are there any other ones you should be looking at, or just? Because
not to my knowledge, though, the PPP does qualify you if you had independent contractor payroll in 2019. You do qualify for that. There's a different set of information you provide them, copies of your canceled checks, as I understand most banks want. So that if you didn't have employees, but you paid yourself or paid independent contractors, you still qualify. But the only three that I'm aware of on the large scale across the country is the PPP, which you go through your bank or a banker, the economic disaster, the early grant, which is $10,000, and then the bigger picture where you're going to wait 4 to 5 months probably for any funds.
Okay.
All right, great. Okay, well, like every good relationship I have, I met Kathy through networking. I was introduced to her by a really good friend, and Kathy and I have become good friends in the last few months, and her background is really varied. She's done a lot of things in the greater Houston area, now has a coaching business where she helps people launch quantum leaps to success, and Kathy's going to walk through that today. So Kathy, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate you being here and looking forward to seeing what you got to present.
Well, I am thrilled to be here, Scott, and very excited to be sharing this information with everybody. I think it's really important to have business owners be focusing on what they need to be focusing on right now. So some of the things that I usually hear from business owners is the three things that bother them the most are time, money, and their employees. But that's not what I'm hearing now. What I'm hearing now is that it's survival, money, and employees. Everybody's got plenty of time on their hands right now. And so it's really important for people to be looking at the right things in their business. So we're going to look at some of the different pillars of business success, and we're going to look at the ones that we need to be focusing on today to be successful in doing our best to possibly help our businesses survive what's going on in our economy and world today. And then also look at some of the ones that we need to focus on as we come out of this in order to be successful and ready to relaunch our businesses very quickly. And then we're also going to look at some of the things that we need to do longer term to start preparing for 2021 as we get into the last quarter, because everything is going to be shifted by what's already happened here. So I'm going to share some information with y'all on my screen. These are the basics of the business model that every business runs on. Basically, it's your contacts from your new customers, so your leads and what kind of lead generation are you doing? and what are you bringing in? And then you multiply that times the numbers that buy. And then you look at your contacts from your past customers and you multiply that by the number that buy. Contacts from existing customers, and you multiply that by the number that buy. And so you want to look at how your funnel fills up, and some of these different pillars are listed on the right hand side that work to help you grow your business using these different things. And if you can make some changes and make some small increases in your lead generation and contacts from past customers and existing customers, if you can increase your average dollar sale, reduce your fixed cost by even a small percentage, then it can really make a big difference in your business. So if we just took a basic business and they start out with, say, 6,000 leads, and you look down through these different elements, then you see that they end up with a net profit of $42,000. But if you just increase the number of leads by 10%, and you increase your conversion rate by 10%, and you increase your total number of customers by 10%, and your average dollar sale, then that really helps increase your revenue. And if you can increase your margin as well, your gross profit goes up. And then if you can reduce your fixed costs by 10%, then your net profit goes up quite a bit. And that actually turns out to be a 69% increase in net profit. So what I want y'all to see from this is that you don't have to make huge strides in any one area to have a big impact on your business. So what can we be doing right now to be increasing the number of leads and talking to our customers and that sort of thing? And also, what can we do to look at fixed costs? What about our rent? Can we renegotiate our lease? You may not be able to do that right now unless you're close to the end of your lease, but look at what your fixed overhead costs are. That may be one of the best ways that you can do something right now to make a difference in your net profits. So these are the general 12 pillars of business success that I use whenever I work with a business owner to help them move their business forward, to improve their cash flow and increase their profitability. So all of these pillars are important in running a business successfully, but there are some that are much more important right now with what's going on. And so those are the ones that we're going to talk about today. So one of the things that I do when I work with business owners is I have a business effectiveness evaluation that I use that looks at 9 of these pillars. Some of the other ones that aren't on it require more in-depth evaluation than a business owner self-assessment. So, but the ones that the business owner can assess on their own is in my business effectiveness evaluation. And so we look at that, and then we work together to figure out where we need to focus first for that business owner to start making a difference in their business in the place that it's going to have the biggest impact first. So where we want to be focusing right now in order to be able to be successful in staying alive in our businesses and keeping our businesses going as much as we can are a handful of the different pillars. The first thing is leadership. Every single business is a reflection of who's at the top. As business owners, we need to be leading our businesses. We need to be communicating with our employees. They're just as scared as we are. They don't know what's going on, and we need to be transparent with them. What I find in a lot of business cultures is that the business owners operate on a need-to-know basis instead of really sharing what's going on in the business and the direction they're trying to take the business. If they're having challenges, your employees are going to understand if you're having challenges right now. So be transparent with them. Let them know where you stand. Let them know what you're doing to do as well as you can in the business. Finances is the next thing that you really, really need to look at. What I find a lot of times when I work with small business owners is they don't necessarily know what their finances are at any given time. And so it's really important right now, especially as you're applying for the SBA grants and the loans and the CARES Act and all the different things that are coming out, you're going to have to provide that information for all of that anyway. So it's really important right now to assess your finances, figure out where you stand, and then assess the impact on each arena of the business model, and look at each arena of the business model to see where can I make efforts and maybe make some changes that will help improve my finances in this period of time. One of the other things to look at is your cash flow. A lot of times business owners have great inventory and they're doing well and they're making money, but they're essentially cash poor. Their money is tied up in inventory, different kinds of overhead. So you want to look at cash flow as well and look at what you can do to increase your cash flow in the current climate. Of course, also look at all the SBA assistance that you can look at getting lines of credit. We had a panel on the NIA Daily Dose, I think it was last week, that talked a great deal about, you know, how to manage your finances, like getting a line of credit until you get the assistance from the SBA so it can keep you going. So those are some of the things that you can do around your finances. Then you want to look at your marketing, because some people feel like we should not be marketing right now, but this is actually a really good time to be marketing. You want to shift your marketing a little bit, maybe from what you normally do. So instead of pushing your products, you want to be serving your clients and you want to be serving your prospects. You want to reach out and touch them and make sure that they're okay and that they're doing well, and finding out if there is anything that they need right now that maybe you could support them in. So one of the things that you could do is do a survey of your clients, your prospects, your former clients. Reach out to them. Find out how they're doing, find out what they're needing right now. I have a marketing process that I do where I go through this, and we actually do a survey of your client base, and then we look at what the responses are, and we build your marketing around what your clients have just told you that they want from you. And it really is a great way to increase your revenue. It can 10x your revenue if it's done well. So you may want to consider doing something along those lines, and you may also just want to reach out and see how they're doing. As Stephen Covey says, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. Let them know that you care, and they will remember you for that going forward in the future. So they may not be in a position to be buying from you today, but they will become loyal and raving fans of yours and buy from you and refer to you in the future going forward if you take care of them now. So again, you want to adjust your marketing accordingly. You want to have as many marketing strategies going as possible, and maybe adjust your marketing platforms. Where is everybody right now? So are they on Facebook? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Instagram? Looking at where everybody is, because you want to find out where they're frequenting. Are there groups that they frequent? Are there magazines that they read that are online? Are there places where they normally buy? If you can find those places and put some marketing materials or do some Facebook ads or something like that up in those arenas where your clients frequent and where they gather and where they fund by buying, then that helps get you in front of people who are the prospects that you're looking for. And so it helps start getting the word out about you and letting them get to start knowing, liking, and trusting you, so that when they're ready, they can buy. So I want to show you, this is the marketing piece on my business effectiveness evaluation. So the business owners will go in and evaluate themselves on how well they're doing in each of these different arenas. And just answering some of these questions helps tell you some of the things that you need to be doing in your business to make sure that you're marketing well and to make sure that you're being as successful as you can with your marketing. Okay, and then of course, networking. Networking is one of the best ways to be marketing your business. And right now, doing things like this, doing things like getting people together on virtual meetings and virtual happy hours. I had lived in Boca Raton, Florida a few years ago, and I was part of the Boca Chambers Leadership Boca, where it's all professional people who are leaders in their businesses and growing their careers get together and learn about the Boca community and how they can support the community and learn different leadership things. And so that group held a virtual happy hour last week. And I was able to get together with people I haven't seen since I moved back to Texas in a couple of years. And we were all talking about some of the things that we're doing right now. And a lot of us are doing something different than we had been doing. So I have a friend who has a connection to get the surgical masks and the N95 masks and gowns and sanitizer and all that for medical places. Some of the people that were in Leadership Boca with me work at the Boca Raton Regional Hospital. And I had been trying to reach out to one of them, and she wasn't on the call, but there was somebody that lives there that sees her all the time that's going to go talk to her for me to see if I can make that connection for her. So even if it's providing something that's going to help during this crisis, these kinds of virtual networking events can be very, very helpful. They can be helpful for brainstorming. They can be helpful for referrals. You know, we are all still meeting in our network and action groups. We are still having people join. We are still passing referrals. People are still getting business and making sales. So even though the networking has to be adjusted right now and to be done virtually, you can still do it. It's also a great way to reach out to your current and past clients and see what's going on with them. Have a virtual meeting with them. Don't just pick up the phone and call them. Have a virtual meeting with them to see how they're doing. Finally, you want to focus on sales, finding out what your customers and clients need right now. You know, the very first NIA Daily Dose that we did was Catherine Brown, and she told us a story about how she got a referral one day, talked to the business owner, did the sales training that week, got paid, because the business owner needed sales training right now because of what is going on. So think about in your sales and your products and what you sell, is there something that I have that my clients or prospects might need now because it's now and because of what is going on now? It's okay to keep selling now. So you definitely want to keep selling. You may want to modify your services and your products, maybe sell them a little bit differently. So if you usually do, you know, live seminars, do them online instead of doing them live. I'm going to a 3-day boot camp next week that was supposed to be outside of Austin, but now it's going to be virtually online. So you may have to make some modifications. You may have to shift how you're doing some of the things that you're doing, but you can still keep selling right now. Other things that you can do are create added value. Give more than what you normally would. Give bonuses and things like that that will create additional value for your clients so that they will really appreciate you and stay loyal to you going forward. And then another thing that you can do is you can have sales or you can do discounts. You may not get as much profit as you want doing a sale or a discount, but at least if you can continue to sell, then you still have cash flow coming in and you still have money going on. So because of what's going on right now, I'm discounting my rates for my coaching, because I think what's going to happen is when we come out of this, a lot of small business owners are going to realize they were not prepared and they did not have things in place for business continuity or for a crisis or for an emergency. And I think a lot of them are going to want strategic help in how to run their businesses better and preparing for this kind of event better in the future. So I want to make it easier for them to work with me. So I'm going to be discounting. So think about, are there ways that you can make it easy for your clients and customers to do business with you? Because the easier you make it for them, the more likely it is that they will do business with you. And then finally, the other thing that you want to focus on right now is your human resources. Do you have an HR strategy that is going to allow your business to survive? So if you don't, you want to create that. And it's a balancing act. I know as business owners, we all want to take care of our employees, and we need to take care of our businesses as well. So we've got to find that balance where we can do both, where we can keep the business alive and keep as many of our employees whole as possible. So whatever that strategy is, I know some business owners are having their employees work part-time. So it's not hurting the business as much, even though they're not having as much business coming in, but they're still getting to help their employees by keeping them working. They're furloughing people for a short period of time instead of laying them off. They're doing pay reductions. So you get to keep your job, you're just not going to make as much for the time being while this is going on and while all the small businesses are hurting. You also want to see how you can provide assistance with the resources for unemployment and bill assistance and food and necessities. As a business owner, put something together, a flyer or an email that you can send out to your employees and let them know what the resources are. Just like all of us in Network in Action are doing, we're trying to get information out to business owners, letting them know what options are out there, what the SBA is doing. Business owners, we can do that for our employees as well, and let them know what's available for them. Let them know about the United Way. Let them know about if you've got an assistance ministry where they can get necessities, or the food pantries where they can get help. You really want to stay in touch with your employees right now and just communicate as much as you can. A lot of times leaders in the C-suite and business owners think if they tell their people something once or twice or even 3 times, it's enough, but it's not. People need to hear something 7 to 10 times before it really sinks in. So it's really important that whatever you're doing with your employees, for your employees, around what you're doing in the business right now, that you communicate, and just keep your employees in on what's going on. Okay, so you've done all of those things, you've taken some time to look at the business, and you're putting some new things in place to make sure that you're going to do the best that you can to survive right now. When it comes time for us to end this shutdown and we start to go back to being able to be out in the world and being able to do business again, there are some things that we need to be doing now as well to prepare ourselves and to prepare our business to relaunch really quickly. So again, leadership is one of the pillars that you want to focus on. As you move forward and as we get closer to the time where we won't have to be shut down, again, you want to communicate, you want to come up with a plan for what you're going to do in the business. Are you going to bring the furloughed employees back on? Are you going to bring laid off employees back on? Are, you going to put people's salaries back in place if you've cut their salaries? Let them know what you're working on, let them know what you're doing, and just be as transparent as possible. Again, finances is crucially important. Assessing where you are now as we go through this shutdown time, your cash flow and your profitability, and then assess where you need to be by the end of the year and what you need to be doing to see that you get yourself there by the end of the year. So creating a strategic plan that has some specific action steps that as soon as we are out of lockdown, that you can start putting into place that will allow you to relaunch your business as quickly as possible back fully the way it was running before this situation occurred. And in creating that strategic plan, there may actually be action steps that you can be taking today, such as how are you going to do your marketing differently? What is your marketing message going to be going forward as we roll out of this? So create that plan and then just set timelines for when you're going to do each thing and put it on your calendar and start working on the plan. Sales. These are some of the things that you can do. Again, finding out what your clients want as we emerge from the shutdown. So maybe their needs are going to be different than they were prior to the shutdown. Maybe they're going to be different than they are now. So again, that reaching out and that contact with your clients and your prospects and your customers is a really great way to find out how do you need to adjust your marketing, how do you need to adjust your sales, do you need to offer different kinds of products, services, those kinds of things to meet their needs at where they are coming out of this. So you want to create a sales strategy. Find out what they need, create a sales strategy. If you need to create new services or products, or if you need to modify your services or products, maybe you usually work with people on an individual basis in your business, but you could shift to a group service and it might be less expensive for your clients. And maybe that's what they need right now versus individual work. That may not be a possibility for you in your business, but brainstorm with your team, brainstorm with people that are trusted leaders for you, and see if there are ideas that you can come up with that will allow you to provide different or modified or additional products or services that create value for your clients. You could continue your sales and discounts for a period of time as businesses come out of this while we're all recovering. And then down the road, you could increase your prices. Because what happens a lot of times is business owners don't look at their pricing on a regular basis, and they don't look around to see what the competition is doing. And it's important to assess where the competition is. And you probably won't be able to increase your prices right away because nobody's going to be able to afford that. But going forward, down the road, maybe in the fourth quarter or toward the middle or the end of the fourth quarter, there may be an opportunity for you to increase your prices. So do some research about that now to see what you want to do going forward as we move out of this.
So Kathy,
yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we got a question coming through. Do you mind taking a question?
Sure.
All right, this one comes from Mr. Mike Mallon. There are many discussions about what the business landscape looks like going forward. What are your thoughts about how businesses and people will behave post-shelter? What segments will be impacted or changed, and how?
That's a big question.
It is.
Well, in my opinion, I think every business sector is going to be impacted. I think that commercial real estate is going to be drastically impacted because Whereas before this, businesses said, oh no, we need everybody in the office. We can't work remotely. Everybody's got to be here. Now they're learning, yes, if we're information workers, we're knowledge workers, we can work from home. We can work remotely. If we're in a manufacturing plant or something like that, we have to be there. But if we have a role where we don't have to be in the office, I think business owners are going to look to downsize their office space, which then will in turn damage commercial real estate for a while until things settle down and level out again. I think any kind of online business is probably doing really well right now and will continue to do well going forward. So one of the things that is already true before this happened is that online learning, doing things like what we're doing here, is huge already right now. Video is huge if you're marketing your products and services and posting it on social media, those kinds of things. But online learning is slated to be a $275 billion industry by the year 2022. And that was before this. So my guess is that it's going to go up even more. So if you have some knowledge and some expertise that you could share through online trainings and that sort of thing, that's an opportunity to add an additional stream of revenue to your business. I do think that a lot of brick and mortar businesses are going to have some big challenges.
Kathy, I have a question, non-COVID related.
Yeah.
Over the years, I've owned a business for the last 30-something years, and I've always struggled with this. How do those of us on here know when to raise our price? So I'm not talking about COVID. I understand that we might be price sensitive right now. But let's say this, I wish this epidemic wasn't here. How do businesses know when to raise their price? I know sometimes, like in the past, I'd go 4 or 5 years and all of a sudden I go, wow, I've had the same price for 5 years. I'm not paying the same thing for anything 5 years ago.
I think that aligns with your strategic plan, and that's something that a lot of small business owners don't do. So first of all, I think small business owners need to create at least a 3-year strategic plan. I think they need to have a longer term vision, because if you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there? But at least some kind of 3-year strategic plan with then goals for this year on how you're going to get there. And I think that part of that strategic plan is evaluating your pricing at least annually to see how you are compared to the competition. If you are doing something that's in really high demand, then it might be a good time to raise your prices. If you're in an industry that's being challenged, maybe not such a good time to raise your prices right now. But I think that that is something that businesses should look at annually at a minimum, just to see where they fit with your competition.
I like that idea, because I know the mistakes I've made in the past is all of a sudden you wait 5 or 6 years and you look at it, and then you have to have sort of a quantum jump, and it's
Right.
more painful for the customer, where if you're doing incremental jumps annually or every 18 months or so, it's better.
Yeah. Yeah. So another thing that you can do when you look at raising your prices is grandfather your existing customers and give them some notice. So you could keep your prices the same for your existing customers, say for the next 6 months, and put a notice out, let them know that. You could do it for 3 months as well, and let them know that you're going to be raising your prices in a certain amount of time, but they have 3 months, 6 months in which to find another provider if they would like. But if they choose to continue doing business with you, your prices will be going up to X at that point in time. But when you do it initially, start charging new clients the new prices. And so you kind of shift it in and give your existing clients an opportunity to adjust to the new prices. So if you do it that way, it's not quite such a shock to those existing clients. Does that make sense to you, Scott?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there are ways that you can do it that it is more easily accepted. And if people don't want to pay those prices, then they can go and find a different provider. But if you are providing a great service or a great product and your customer service is phenomenal and you always over deliver and you always add value, chances are they're going to stick with you because they're finding value in what you're providing them. So unless it's just to the point where they simply can't afford it, most likely they will stick with you. So I want to apologize. I'm a little hot. My air conditioner went out this morning, so it's a little steamy in my house.
I've got a good referral on an air conditioning company.
Well, good to know. You can shoot that to me in a little bit. So any other questions before we move forward?
Not currently on the chat, no.
Okay. So one of the other areas as you're preparing to relaunch when we are coming out of this shutdown is to look at your human resources and evaluate your organizational structure, the roles, the positions. So a lot of times as businesses grow, they get an organizational structure that hasn't necessarily been really well planned or thought out. We just need somebody new to do this, and so we add this role. We need somebody to do this, and so we add this role. Maybe take some time and look at your org chart and look at what roles do I really, really need? What is the reporting structure I really, really need? Can I consolidate? And maybe get a leaner organization and be more efficient, more productive with fewer people. That is a possibility. You want to create a strategy to operate in a more lean way than you were previously. It's just like in the oil and gas industry, in the last couple of downturns in prices, companies laid people off and laid people off and laid people off, and they found that they were able to operate efficiently and productively at a certain number of employees, and so they were more lean. And so when prices started to come back a little bit, even though they hired again, they didn't hire back to the level where they were before because they had been forced to learn to operate lean. And so looking at where you can cut out expenses in the business where it does not impact your customers is something else that you need to be looking at right now as you think about going forward in the relaunch. So you also want to create some kind of strategy and an action plan to onboard your returning employees. So if you have furloughed employees, if you have laid employees off, you want to think about how are you going to get them back on board in the company, because you want to take really good care of these employees. They're probably going to feel a little bit slighted because they were chosen to be furloughed or laid off. So you're going to need to put things in place to make them feel important and to make them feel valued as they are coming back on, because you want them to have a great employee experience and you want to get them re-engaged. According to the Gallup organization, which has been assessing employee engagement for over 20 years now, and they've got millions of surveys, only 33% of the employees in the US are actively engaged. And that's big business, small business, and it's even more dreadful for the global numbers. Only 13% of employees are actively engaged globally. But if these employees come back in and they're not re-engaged, then they'll be costing you money. So you want to put things in place to make sure that they feel valued, make sure that they know you want them back, and get them re-engaged in your culture, in your business, get them fired up about it again, because there are already other people in your business who are there who are not engaged. So the majority of employees are either disengaged, they're just there doing what they have to do for their paycheck. And then there's a large percentage, almost half of the number of engaged employees that are actively disengaged, and they're trying to sabotage your business. So they're undermining what your engaged employees are doing. So you want to get your employee engagement rates up as high as you can. So it's critical for you to re-engage your returning employees. And again, communication is the key. Be transparent, tell them what's going on, and tell them how you're going to help them going forward in the business. And if you are going to change the way that you're doing business, do change management around that. Tell them about it. Create a change management plan that you can get buy-in. A lot of times what happens when businesses make changes is those changes become a huge struggle and sometimes a fail because businesses fail to prepare the employees for the coming changes. And a huge piece of that is the communication. So make sure that your communication is key and strong as you're preparing to relaunch quickly. So looking at longer term success planning, again, leadership is key. You have to let people know what you're doing in the business, what you're planning on, how you see the business shifting in the coming year as we continue to recover from what this virus has done to our economy and to your business and those kinds of things. I would very highly suggest that you create a strategic plan before the end of this year. So one of the things that you want to do is evaluate your lessons learned. Look back at what you are learning about your business, about your employees, about the economy, about your products and services, about how you operate in your business. What are you learning right now? Start documenting those things. And then start thinking of some ways that you may need to do things differently or tweak things in order for your business to be more successful. And what kinds of things do you need to do to have a business continuity plan in the event of something like this happening in the future? So I would suggest that you build a new strategic plan for the next 3 years, sometime in the last part of this year, maybe in the fourth quarter, or maybe even before, if you're a planner, and then build an action plan for 2021. Set 5 major goals for your business that you want to accomplish in 2021, and then break those down into 3 major things for each goal that need to be accomplished, and then start creating some action plans. And maybe you do that down through your teams. You set the 5 main goals, and then you cascade that down out to your leaders in your teams. And then with their teams, they create the actual daily, step-by-step, week-by-week, month-by-month, quarter-by-quarter plans that their teams need to engage in to allow you to achieve your 2021 plan. Also, looking at your culture. That's not something that's real important right now while we are in survival mode. But if you want long-term success in your business, you want to take a look at your culture. A lot of times, culture goes a long way to impacting bottom line, because if you've got a toxic culture or a culture where there are cliques in your business, or you have a culture where it's a good old boy business and your buddies get promoted but other qualified people don't, that's going to create unhappiness in your employees. Your employees will not be as engaged, and if you don't have as engaged employees, you won't have the bottom line numbers that you want. So, and every company has a culture. It is either a culture on purpose or it is a culture that has just happened as the business has grown. So you may want to do a cultural assessment and take a look at your culture and find out what's working, what's not, and then do some things to address the concerns that are not working in your culture. And if you can do those things, and again, leadership and transparency is really, really important. I've done cultural assessments at multiple businesses over the years, and it's really, really critical. If you do some kind of assessment like this, you have to share the feedback with your employees. So one of the things you can do is like a top 10 framework. Here are the top 10 things we heard from you. Here are the great things we heard from you. And here are the things that we heard that you would like to see be different. And there may be some things that you can't or don't want to change. For example, there was a place where I did this cultural assessment and the employees wanted 401k matching. They also wanted stock options. And the 3 founders of the business were not willing to do stock options, but they were willing to do 401k matching, and it didn't cost them that much money to do it, and they were profitable enough that they could do it. So the communication to the employees was, we heard you, we value what you said, we hear that you want stock options, we're not in a position to do that right now, we will consider it possibly in the future. We heard you want 401k matching. We're going to be implementing that later this year. So even if you can't make cultural changes that your employees want, it's still good to know what their concerns are so that you can address those concerns going forward in order to have the best employee experience and the most engaged workplace that you can, because companies that have engaged employees have significantly higher bottom lines than companies with disengaged employees. So at some point going forward, it is going to be important to look at your culture and see what's working and what's not, and take a look at what you may want to do something about. Finally, you want to look at your systems and processes. So again, going back to my business effectiveness evaluation, you know, here's the sales portion of it. Do you use scripts in your initial contacts? What are your sales processes? What kinds of sales meetings do you have? What is shared in that sales meeting? What kind of accountability do you have? You've got to look at, you know, your customer service and how are you handling your customers and those kinds of things. These are all the things where you want to put a system or a process in place so that your business runs like a well-oiled machine. You want to have procedures that are followed. So when a new employee comes in, they can be onboarded quickly. They can be shown the systems and the processes for what they do in their role. That cuts their learning curve down so they become more productive for you much more quickly. The average learning curve is 3 to 6 months for a new employee for them to really start producing and actually paying for what they're earning by the work that they're doing in the company. So if you can do some things like put processes in place that are followed in the way that you operate your business, you can get your employees operating more productively, more quickly, when they feel like they know what they're doing because they've been shown how to do it. They're more engaged. So all of these different things, even though they're important but not urgent, they are important to look at and to do something about at some point going forward when you're looking at your longer term success planning. So does anybody have any questions around any of the relaunching or longer term success planning?
I got nothing on chat right now.
Okay. Well, I have a bonus for y'all. So as I talked about earlier, Increasing cash flow is something that's really, really very important. And it's one of the first things that I try to do when I go in and I work with a business owner is increase their cash flow. So there are certain ways that we can do that. And so one of the ways is that you want to assess what's working best for you. I think increasing cash flow right now for everybody is really, really very important as we're looking everywhere for the money that we need to keep our businesses alive. So what's working best for you? What are your best sellers? Who are your best clients? Look at who your best clients are. Look at to see where can I find more lookalike clients like those. So whatever the types of businesses are that are buying from you the most or that hire you the most, those kinds of things, take a look at your business before we were in the economic situation that we are in and look at what was working best for you and do more of that. That's one really easy way to increase your cash flow. Secondly, assess the value of your past clients. This is something that's very, very important. A lot of times business owners don't think about going back and talking to our former clients. Sometimes those people can be clients again. Sometimes those people can be great referral resources for you because they've worked with you before or they've bought your product before and they know that it's something of value. Maybe they want to buy your product again. It is much less expensive to get a sale to a former or existing client than it is to acquire a new client. So go back through your client list, your customer list, start reaching out to past clients and seeing how they're doing and how their family's doing through this situation, and just have conversations with them. And throughout that conversation, ask them if there's anything that they need. Maybe they don't even realize that you have something that they need right now. All right, assess what's worked for you in the past. Was there a product that you offered that maybe you're not offering anymore that did really, really well for you in the past? Maybe you want to bring it back. Maybe there was a service that you offered that worked really well for you in the past. Maybe you want to bring it back as an additional service that you offer. So go back and look at what you were most successful with in the past, like the past 5 to 10 years. And revisit some of the things that you may not be offering today that you could bring back and start offering again. If it worked well for you in the past, unless it's something that's obsolete because of technology or whatever, it could be a way to have another stream of revenue and increase your cash flow. You also want to assess how to generate immediate cash flow. So do you have a warehouse full of inventory that you're not using? Do you have inventory that is, last year's model or the year before that you could sell at a discount? That even though you may not make the most profit on it that you would want to, could you have a warehouse sale? Or could you have an inventory reduction sale or something along those lines to start generating cash right immediately? And then finally, again, going back to assessing your pricing strategy. So given where we are right now, raising prices at this moment in time is probably not the right moment to do it. But I would look at it in the fourth quarter, once we are recovering from this, and see whether it would make sense for you to increase your prices. So those are just a handful of ways that you can very quickly and easily look at how you can increase cash flow now and going forward into the future. So any questions on anything that I've talked about today?
Well, certainly lots of good stuff. I'll make my list of things to do, and I got a lot of work to do. A lot of things that we're falling down the wayside on. Any questions? Awesome. So Thursday, we're going to have a great program.
Before you shift,
Yes.
I want to make everybody an offer on here. My business effectiveness evaluation that I've shown you pieces of a couple of times. I usually charge $500 for that, for people to take that and get the report with strategies and recommendations. Because of what's going on right now, and because it's my mission to transform businesses and lives, I'm offering it for free.
Wow.
So for right now. So for anybody that's on this call, you're welcome to take it. Reach out to me at quantumlinksuccesscoach.com and apply in the on the contact page, and put in the comments that you want the business effectiveness evaluation. You can also follow me on my Facebook pages for my coaching business and for my network and action group. And I hope y'all have found this helpful. And if I can help anybody out, even if you just want to have like a quick strategy call with me, I'm offering that for free. I won't be selling you on that call. If you just need some support and you want to run some things by me, you can reach out to me on my website, and I'm happy to do that with y'all.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That's very generous. Appreciate that. Very cool. So I'm reminded of the story, you know, you can't save your way to prosperity, right? And I'm reminded of the story that the guy that had you probably read this, the guy that had the haircutting place, and a discount haircutter went in across the street with a big banner that said $8 haircuts. And the guy's like, oh no, my business is over. And he went home that night and he started thinking about what to do. And he hung a banner the next day that says, we fix $8 haircuts. So my point in that story is, you know, I'm already starting to get excited about the opportunity on the other side of this. And it's going to be there, and it's going to be there for entrepreneurs because we're more nimble. We can make decisions quicker. We can react quicker. So I had since this whole thing started, I've had about 2 hours of a pity party. Yesterday, midday, I was like, and I decided, you know what, we're not but a few more weeks away from having a fantastic opportunity for all of our members. So please stay safe. Hopefully you can join us Thursday for a cool little event around Instagram. It's probably the social media platform that I know the least. And we've got a great speaker to talk to us about Instagram and teach us a little bit. You'd be surprised how businesses can do well with Instagram. So stay safe for a few days. Let us know if we can do anything for you. Thank you all for joining us, and have a great evening. Thank you, Kathy. Great job.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Take care.